think I'm streaming. I haven't done this in like a week, so all right. First things first. Let me make sure my audio is working. All right. First things first. Okay, awesome. I can hear myself. That's good. All right, cool. Okay, that just went live. Let me go ahead and send my messages. It's gonna send. Unfortunately, my latency looks like it's a little low. But that's okay. I hope it's going to be okay. So one of the things I did not do is stay wired after I got my new laptop. So I'm just hoping, maybe if I move, hold on. Oh, I didn't even turn, hold on. All right, there we go. Let me move this further away. It, I've noticed just a few feet actually help me get better reception Wi-Fi wise. So hopefully this works. And if not, well, that's that. Okay. Um, okay, hold on. Just check my audio again. Pillbilly, hello, welcome in. How's it going? I'm just getting started, but the intent tonight is I'm going to recap a bunch of magic-related things. And so I'm just checking my audio, and I haven't streamed for like a week, so I'm just getting my bearings, so sorry. But welcome in, Pillbilly. How's it going? Yeah, the intention is I'm mostly just going to be chatting tonight and talking about a lot of magic, but so that's the plan. Okay, cool. So, all right, awesome. Now just make sure you guys, when I click on this, you guys can see. Okay, you can hear me now? Okay, so my scene is messed up. My show and tell scene. Okay, all right, yep. Yeah, I knew my cam was in the upper left-hand corner. That's deliberate. Okay, so hold on. What do I do? So when I switch, what happens to my audio mixer? Mic aux, stream elements, because I'm probably going to want to be on that screen. Okay, can you hear me now? All right, I'm going to check my audio really quick. Can I hear myself now? Oh, yes. All right. I fixed it. Oh, yes. All right. Okay. All right. Great. Yes. Okay. And then when I do this, you should hopefully be able to see. Uh, okay. Like a browser. All right. Excellent. Okay. Whew. All right. I think with that, we can now get started. Anyway, Pillbilly, thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for the feedback. Really appreciate it. Okay. Whew. Man. Dirky Blaine, welcome in. Quick hello as I'm about to walk into work. All right, Dirky Blaine, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a recap of two things. Oh, there's echo? Damn it. How about now? Okay, hold on. We're going to do the audio check again. Okay, hold on. We're going to do the audio check again. All right, okay. I think that's fixed. Okay, that echo was from me playing myself in the browser, so that's acceptable. All right, hold on. I'm going to Okay, so we're gonna be doubled over here for a second. Okay, how about now? Okay, how about now? Oh, hold on, that echo's still gonna go because I have my browser playing. All right. Okay, now it should be clean. I'm hoping. All right. Okay, now it should be clean. All right. Okay, there we go. Yes. Okay, Gibson Lens, welcome in. How's it going, Bert? And yeah, okay, so I think and now this should be better. And now you should still be able to hear me here. Okay. But hello, welcome in. So, Dirky Blaine says, you're good, thanks. So, welcome in, Dirky Blaine, Pillbilly, Gibson Lens. All right. I wanted to just randomly do this stream because I had a bunch of stuff to talk about and pictures to show. Granted, not as many of magic as I would like, mostly selfies, but I mean, I did take notes of basically all of the magic, so I can talk about basically all of it. But anyway, welcome. How's everybody doing today? Where I am, it is Friday night, so hopefully everybody's having a wonderful week. Pillbilly, Jerky Blaine, Gibson Lens. All right. Okay. So first things first. I went to a convention and we had somebody come lecture to my local Society of American Musicians Club last week. And so they're two separate events. So the lecture happened on Tuesday of last week. And the lecturer is, if you've read the title of this stream, it's Alexandra Duvivier. For anybody who does not know, Alexandra Duvivier, French magician, and she is the daughter of another famous French magician named Dominique Duvivier, and she is like, I mean, they're both like world renowned. So she's been on Penn and Teller. She has uh, been at a bunch of. I actually met her last year, but I didn't really talk with her until this year. So anyway, so first things first, let's hop over to show and tell. So this is Alexandra Duvivier's website, but I just wanted to show just so that if anybody had any question, so that's Alexandra, and then this is Dominique, so her dad. All right, cool. So now we can hop over to. Let me see if I do this right. I can switch over to. Oh, where's the picture? I want the picture. I also realize I have my Signal app running. I don't want to accidentally show my Signal app because there's recently been some government shenanigans with Signal. Not because Signal did anything wrong. The protocol of end-to-end encryption works for Signal. It's just a matter of like safety of who you invite. I mean, just be safe on every communication platform. All right, so this is me at the lecture getting a selfie with Alexandra. And so this happened last week on Tuesday, April 22nd. And for anybody who is unaware of how a lecture works, basically they will perform the trick and then they will teach you how to do the trick. So I took a bunch of notes. I'm not going to reveal all of the notes, but I'm just going to put my. You can see my awful. Actually, no, you can't really. You can see my awful handwriting. That's cool. So I'm just gonna. So here's. I got there like a few minutes early. Chatted with all the other magicians, hung out for a little bit, and then the lecture began. And the first trick Alexandra did was a trick that I don't know what it's actually called because I think it's based on something in like classical magic. But imagine like a paper bag, and you take a bunch of disparate objects and then like either string or yarn, and you put all of that into the paper bag, and then just moments later you pull it out, and then everything is tied onto the string, and you think, oh, maybe there's something hiding in the bag. Well, you can basically rip the bag open and there's nothing else. Everything has been tied onto the string. And that is like the classic effect. And Alexandra, she did like a candy sweets version of it. So she had these, what I would kind of call like licorice strings, but she said it was like the Coca-Cola version of these strings. And she had a bunch of different kinds of candies inside. So like she had marshmallows, she had a can of soda, she had like bubble gum and a couple other things, and then basically and then by the end of the trick, she pulled out the Coca-Cola strings, and basically all the pieces of candy were connected to it, and then you could look inside the paper bag, and there was nothing. So that's basically what that trick was. And then she gave us the lecture portion of it, and we were like, "Wow, that's brilliant!" So it's pretty cool. Um, I'm not really doing the trick justice, obviously, because I'm just explaining like the high level trick. But one of the things that I'm starting to learn more and more, like I would say, good lecturers and great magicians, they reinforce like the idea of like presentation, and so like she plays up the whole, "Ooh, I love sweets. I want to have my candy fix for today." And so that's basically how that first trick went, and it was good. Um, the idea also was that like she justified using sweets because it could make a connection with people, and so like the connection with kids would be, well, a lot of kids like candy, but then for adults it's as though you're nostalgic for your childhood because you had candy once, when you were a kid. You knew what it was like. So I just realized this is not. I can't see this. If I just turn. All right, there we go. All right. And so that was the first trick. All right. Let's see. The next trick Alexandra Duvivier did was called Aladdin. And actually, I can tell you that I have purchased this trick, Aladdin. Oh, actually, let me hop back over here. I have purchased Aladdin, so you may see me do this trick in the future. I'm not going to try and do it now because I did not. I watched the trick. Uh, so I watched the trick when Alexandra did it, and then I was like, I think I have all of the skills to do it. So just by seeing it once, and then at the end, I was like, all right, I'll buy it, and then I can perform it later. But just watching the performance again later, and I found a video on YouTube of her dad doing it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is how they handle that. So I'm trying to break it down and remember it, but I might encode it into my system for my own personal reference. But it's a card trick, as you can imagine. I'm probably not going to be purchasing too many things that are not card tricks. But yeah, so that's the weirdest thing. I was like, oh, it's spelled differently than what I would spell, and I'm not sure if this is um, like the French spelling of Aladdin, or if they deliberately spelled it this way and Aladdin spelled the same way. I'm not sure. So Pillbilly says, I've seen tricks for sale in a hobby shop. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So here's the thing: a lot of magicians who create tricks, there's like several levels of magician, right? So there's the magicians that just want to perform, and oftentimes those performing, like working magicians, they may not create their own tricks. Those magicians want to be like the messengers. They want to deliver the surprise and, like, the experience of magic, right, to people. um, and then there are those. I mean, I would argue that I am probably more of a creator, right? I'm not just doing magic just to deliver the surprise, just to give people that experience. I'm also trying to create magic, or be creative with magic. I'm using it more of like artistic expression. And so there's a lot of people that are using it. There are some magicians that are like some of the best magicians in the world that you've never seen perform, because they don't perform. They just create magic tricks, mostly for other magicians. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But of course, as any creative art type thing, that's like that's how they make money. They sell their tricks. Actually, when we get to the MAWNY convention recap, I'll tell you later. There's this one particular magician that I was like, oh man, like every single time I see him, he's always like working. He's I just realized I need to send a couple of messages so that magicians know I'm doing this recap today. because it's like an unusual thing. I don't normally stream on Friday nights actually. So can you name a couple that create tricks to sell? Oh yeah, so like here's one of my favorite like magicians that I know create that. So if you've ever heard of Aussie Wind creates a lot of amazing effects. Here, I'll spell his name. Aussie Wind. He does also perform, but I think by and large he is mostly a creator and seller and collaborator. So like there are famous magicians who will go to Aussie Wind and ask him, "Hey, can you help me create tricks?" Um, and let's see here. Oh yeah, I can mention the name of the person that I was gonna mention earlier, but like Paul Richards is actually someone that he sells a lot of tricks. I basically see him at like every magic convention that I go to, like locally around here, because he's always selling things. So, um, but we'll talk more about that when I talk about MAWNY. All right, so cool. We're just on the second trick for the lecture right now. Okay, so at the lecture, I do have in my notes. I tried to remember what the setup was for this Aladdin trick, and I wrote it in my sight reading system in my notebook. But I couldn't keep up. There was actually so many moves throughout the whole trick. I'm like, I couldn't keep up with it. So, but I did learn a few things about a few sleights that were like really good. Not that I would use them necessarily, but like it's very good to see that there's like that level of thought, like the same level of thought that I am thinking about for some tricks. Uh, Obviously, Alexandra is a you know wonderful card magician, but like she loves cards, and so just thinking at that level of card magic, and I'm like, I'm on the right track. I think about the right things. So Obi-Wan, welcome in. How's it going? How are you doing today? So today I am just chatting, but I'm recapping two things: a lecture that I had from a famous magician who there's a selfie of me with her on screen right now, Alexandra Duvivier. And then I will be recapping a convention. It was a one-day magic convention. I'll be doing that after this. So we just talked about the first two tricks, which I am calling Coca-Cola strings and Aladdin. I did purchase Aladdin. Here, I'll show you. There you go. Aladdin. You may see me do that in the future. Um, Pillbilly says she likes him more than just 52 card pickup. All right, let's see. Okay, the third trick that she performed was I'm not sure what it's called, but she basically had a bag, like a pouch of like loose balloons that are all used for like making balloon animals and things like that. So, but in this balloon or in this pouch, there was a bunch of different balloon colors, and the premise of the trick was she could tell which color the balloon is by how heavy it is. And so there was a couple of things where she just pulled out a couple, gave them to a spectator, and said, "Hey, can you tell which one's heavier? Yes or no?" I am the king of your stream. Welcome in. How's it going? Hello, welcome in. Today we're talking about a lecture and a convention. So I'm just talking through the third trick that Alexandra Duvivier, that's the woman that I have selfie here with me right now. And at some point, Alexandra, she said, "Okay, tell me any color of any of the balloons." And she closed her eyes, put her hand into the pouch, and was able to extract the correctly colored balloon. And so, yeah, and that was so. There's three tricks in this thing, um, in this pouch that she kind of like showed us. But that's basically the premise. So it's like the balloon weight bag is kind of what I called it. All right, let's see. the fourth trick, which was a card trick, it's a card trick called, well, I don't know what it is actually called here, but it's a variation of a trick that I do on stream, called wild card. But it's done in a drastically different way than I normally do it. So, and I think I could probably figure out. I mean, during the lecture, she explained how to do it. I don't remember all the details, and I couldn't write fast enough, but I think I can kind of reconstruct it. So we'll see if I can do that. But this one had a lot of like subtle tips that was really good, I think, for card magic for me. So um, that was a good one. The other thing was she said that you should play games with your spectators, like play with their mind, that kind of thing. So Obi-Wan says wild card. Yep, that's right, wild card. So just to describe that trick, so it's a trick where I start off with like eight nines of spades and one queen of hearts, and then the queen of hearts slowly turns each one into all queen of hearts. So that is effectively what that trick is. So, but this one is done in a clever way, her version, and I was like, ah, so it's very interesting. All right, cool. And then let's see here. The second half of the, well, this is actually, there's a two, three, oh yeah, there's a few more tricks. So, all right, fifth trick. So this one started off with a record, I guess, sleeve, like a musical record. And at first it looked like it was one for the Beatles. And so she showed it to us. And then she turned it basically magically into a record sleeve for the movie Amelie. So for anybody who is not familiar, there's a movie called Amelie, and it is French, so it makes sense from her perspective. Alexandra does play up like the French quite a bit, so and then she basically did a torn and restored trick. So if anybody's not familiar with torn and restored, you basically rip up. In this, normally if I was to do it, it would be tearing up cards, but she tore up like paper, and then she restored them, but like she put them together in the shape of butterflies, and um, and then she made the butterflies fly. It looked like a fan initially, but she actually pulled out a physical record, like an actual vinyl record, and she was fanning the butterflies, and the paper butterflies would actually fly above the record. And I was like, oh, it's a very nice like visual. It looked very nice. Um, and then after that, she explained how to do all of the parts and pieces of it. But oh yeah, and the finale of this butterfly thing was that butterflies basically flew everywhere. So that was the climax of that trick. But yeah, there was a lot of pieces because this particular trick had a lot of phases. There was the sleeve change from Beatles to Amelie. Then there was the torn and restored paper butterflies, and then there was the butterflies flying above the record, and then the paper butterflies coming from everywhere. So there's like four phases as we call them in Magic. So and that was pretty cool. I like that. It was very visual, and like the fact that I used to watch a lot of movies because I used to work at Blockbuster. So I'm like, oh okay. And I know who the Beatles are, and it's funny because I don't think I would know who the Beatles are if my dad didn't listen to the Beatles. I'm sure I would have been exposed to them later, but I don't know if I would have like listened to them or gotten into them or just you know, which is kind of funny. Barney of the Rubble, welcome in. Wow, Crazy Asian is so pretty. Oh wait, that's some lady. That's Barney of the Rubble, welcome in. This is Alexandra Duvivier, a magician from France, and she gave a lecture to my local magic club here last week. So, all right. The next trick that she did was using a bag that she claimed was not an egg bag. Now, if anybody's not familiar, there is a magic trick called the egg bag, and there is some shenanigans that happen with an egg bag. I won't really describe it here, but let's just say that two magicians, we know that an egg bag is suspect, and this is actually the trick that she did on Penn and Teller Fool Us. So if you search up Alexandra Duvivier Penn and Teller, you can see her do this trick. And so there's a bag, there's a deck of cards. You basically have in the for the performance, the deck gets mixed up. So like Penn and Teller could shuffle cards like however they want, and all the cards get put in the bag. She puts both hands in the bag, and then basically by the end of the trick, she has both restored the deck, and if there was like a selection, I think she could find that too. But yeah, and so she explained how this entire thing worked, and I was like, whoa, it's devious because I don't think so. Like, if I was to watch the Penn and Teller performance and just guess how she did it, the way she actually did it is definitely not the way I would have thought. I was like, what? No way, really? And then yeah, I was just like, I was so impressed. It's very, very interesting. Barney, yes, I'm not. I'm just chatting tonight. The trick list is off today, so hold on to that enthusiasm until Sunday, and we'll do sleight of hand Sunday on on Sunday. All right, and then there is. Let me see here. How did I? What is this? Oh, okay, okay. So then this last trick that was part of the lecture, because this trick she did explain afterwards, but basically she took a like a big um, piece of like three-fold. It looked like a big folder basically, and then she curved it into a cone, and she had three ribbons, three different colored ribbons. She themed it as like ingredients for like a good magical performance, and slowly she would put them each into this cone that she just fashioned, and then she would actually let us peek inside and see that they were all still separate. And then basically just within a couple of seconds, she pulls out one of them and they're all interlocked together. So there's three different colored ribbons. They're all like circular, and she put them all in there individually. They were all separate. And then, there's some patter, i.e., some talking, and then she pulls out one of the ribbons, and all three ribbons were attached to each other. And I was like, "What?" Like when she did that, I'm like, "I don't have an explanation." And then she did the lecture portion, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and so here's one of the questions that I get a lot, and it's like, even though I do card magic, other things that still fool me, and I'm like, yes, because if there's things that are not card tricks, there is a good chance that I might not know how it's done. And this is a perfectly good example of that. So Barney says, doesn't mean I won't try. All right, thanks for thanks for trying, Barney. All right, cool. So that was I didn't know what to call it. I called it ingredients cone, and when I was looking at the title in my notes right now, I'm like, what the heck did I mean by ingredients cone? And it's just like, oh, okay, the ingredients for a good performance. So she did engage the audience and was like, okay, name a few things. Like, you know, um, Barney says, I can make a card disappear. Wonderful, Barney. Wonderful. All right, and then the final trick. So that was the last lecture. There was a finale, but this was not part of the lecture. She didn't explain how this one was done, but it's just kind of like a big finale to show, basically to close out the show, close out the lecture. So if anybody is familiar with a trick called gypsy thread, I know that the word gypsy is not like PC anymore, but that's just what the trick is normally called, and that's what it's referred to. Like, so please bear with me. That's just so. Alexandra did a version of gypsy thread. So for anybody who isn't familiar, you start with one long string, and you may have seen other magicians do this, and you break it into pieces. And basically, as part of this, she was talking about how each of the pieces are, important moments or people in her life, and but there was also some humor. She made it really funny, so it was very entertaining. Normally, the way that I see a lot of people do Gypsy Thread is it's a very serious or like somber time. But Alexandra was, it's basically just like comedy. It's just like, this is brilliant. So, um, and then after that, she reconstructs it, or basically it all melts back together into one long string at the end, and then music changes, and then she pulls out a deck of cards, or it was already out, and the cards have song lyrics on it, and the song is your song from Moulin Rouge, which both I'm familiar with the song and the movie. Um, and as the lyrics were going on for that song, she would flip over the cards, and the cards would basically have the song lyrics for it. And there's also humor in this as well. Um, and there were like crazy things, and you guys have seen me use weird cards too. It's like not only did she have blank cards, she had long cards, she had, uh, and then at the end, actually, I think this next image might have. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I took a picture of it. Uh, Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I do have an image. Oh, right here. Okay, hold on. Let me add this to the correct folder so that we can view it. Okay. And so the ending was she had taken this deck of cards, and then she basically laid out an image, and it's an image of Moulin Rouge. There it is. So here's the finale. This is the final look of the trick. Oh yeah, and she made hearts fly everywhere at the end. So, so there you go. Barney says it's also commonly known as Hindu thread. Okay. Barney also says if you send me a Ferrari, I live stream the car disappearing just for you. Oh, gotcha. Pillbilly says butterfly trick is a cool visual. Yeah, yeah. I definitely like the butterfly one. So that was the end of the lecture, and then after that, that's when I got the selfie. She had a merch table in the back. So if anybody wants to check out her stuff, I think this goes to her website that I showed you at the beginning of stream. Actually, let me just, if anybody wants to go to it, I'll just copy Alexandra Duvivier. So it's the Anglais version, so the English version, not the Français version, but okay, cool. So that is that. I did actually get a chance to meet Ben Barnes. Um, and he is a magician from Chicago, and he was in the back at the merch table, but he's not normally part of our club, so that was cool. All right, awesome. Okay, so that is the end of the lecture. That actually going through that took longer than I thought it was going to, but that's okay. Then we said hi to everybody that's coming in. It was probably a good time to quickly let me give a bunch of shout outs. So while we're here, before we pick up the convention. Guys, you're not following our friend Durkee Blaine. Please give Durkee Blaine a follow. Durkee Blaine is a variety streamer, usually plays different games, but has been known to also do some magic on stream. I've also seen Durkee Blaine share some magic videos on his YouTube channel. So, guys, you're not following our friend and mod Gibson Lens. Please give Gibson Lens a follow. Gibson Lens is a pianist, also is a composer, and recently released his first album. I was about to say last month, but actually because it's May, 2 months ago. Right. So definitely give him a follow and check out the album. And then also, guys, you're not following our friend Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan has been playing video games, but has also played guitar on stream before. Also has done some like puzzle community puzzles on stream as well. But definitely give Obi-Wan a follow. Let me see here. Is there anybody else that I missed that we know stream? Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Glorious. Also, if anybody's been sitting around and you have not hydrated, please feel free to hydrate. I'm drinking black tea. It's probably a little late for black tea, but I'm doing it anyway, so. Because I like tea so much. Cheers to that. Cheers. Gibson Lens, what are you drinking, if I may ask? Oh yeah, the other thing I got, so as part of the lecture, I got a DVD from Alexandra. It is Duvivier's Magic, From Old to New, Volume 2. Water. Ah, okay. Excellent. Good stuff. And then we also got a, let me see here. If anybody's a magician and wants to subscribe for, basically it is a magic streaming platform. I'm just covering up a promo code that I don't know if it was intended to be super public, so, but Double Fond TV, magic streaming platform. So go check it out if you're interested. All right. Whew. So the other day I was going to drive to this one-day magic convention called, well, we call it MAWNY, but it's short for something. Actually, it's probably, I should probably show you what it is. All right, so MAWNY stands for, I don't remember exactly what it stands for. Let me switch to this and then show this. Okay. So here's the website for the MAWNY convention, and it stands for Magicians Alliance of Western New York. And it happened on Sunday, so that's where I was on Sunday. By the time the convention was over, I was driving home, and I got home at like 11:15. So it was almost like halfway through the time in which I would be streaming, and I was like, I need to shower. I want to clean up. I'm not gonna stream. I did officially cancel, like I put myself on vacation for on Twitch, but yeah. So I know, yeah. Pillbilly's laughing at the name, and I'm like, yep, that's a pretty long name, as you can imagine. That's probably why we want to call it MAWNY, because I would not want to repeat this name all the time. Um, but for people who didn't know, so this is a one-day magic convention, and it's usually on Sunday because it happens right after a multi-day convention called 4F. Actually, and I don't know exactly what the 4F stand for. Magic convention, but yeah, 4F magic convention. So some of the best magicians will come to this convention, and then MAWNY will close it out. Now, you can't just go to this one. This one is closed to the public. I think you have to be officially let in by 4F, and you need to have like two magicians like vouch for you that are already part of 4F, and you then have to perform there as well. And like some of the best like magicians in the world will gather for 4F, and then MAWNY happens. So now, since it's just a one-day convention, but they have a big show at the end of the night, and if you don't want to pay for an entire day admission, you can just pay for just the show at night, which is like a 2-hour magic show. So um, it's like a it's like a good it was a good quality magic show. So all right, that is the intro. So now uh, let's talk about. Let me see here. Let me switch back to Let me switch back to pictures. Hang on. Oh, hold on. I forgot how to refresh the source with that. I'm just going to navigate off because I have it set to refresh for me. All right, there we go. Okay, so first things first. Um, I woke up, I didn't have breakfast at home, and I was like, okay. So the convention itself started, like the doors opened for it at like 9:30 in the morning. I was probably waking up at like 9:30 in the morning. Pillbilly says, "Are you trying to join 4F?" No, that is not currently a goal. I don't even know what it would take. I don't even know if I have to be like an actual performing magician or if I could just like I don't know. I have no idea. So short answer is no. I'm not trying to join 4F. Um, I don't know if I could even do it in the next few years anyway until my kid's a little bit older because like I know it's just like an hour away from where I live, but like I would be there for like 3 or 4 days, which I guess I kind of do that for other conventions now anyway sometimes, but like I'd feel a little guilty. um, but anyway, yeah. So woke up. I just said bye to the family. Drove. It's only an hour away from my house. And I was hungry for breakfast. And what is a great, sometimes I will have a breakfast sandwich. That's a very sensible. What did I have for breakfast this day? Well, I was driving and on the highway I saw, you know what I'm in the mood for? I saw a Popeyes. If anybody doesn't know what Popeyes is, it's basically like a fried chicken place. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have fried chicken for breakfast. So I had a bunch of fried chicken, and then I was basically good, like for breakfast and lunch. So I get there, and good news, um, they did let us choose our name. So I was able to tell them, oh, please let me be known as Crazy Asian, spelled this way. And so here's my badge. So I was able to just go around and being like, hey, hey, who are you? I'm like, I'm Nam. And then they would look to probably to see how to spell Nam, and they would just see crazy. I'm like, oh yeah, this is my YouTube and my Twitch. So Bill Billy says the beans and rice is great at Popeyes. So Popeyes tastes good. I think most of the food at Popeyes pretty decent. Like, and honestly, like a lot of people call it fast food, and it might used to have been fast food. Uh, it's probably a little bit pricier than other fast food, but I guess it's not that much pricier because all of the other fast food is slightly increasing in price too. So, yeah. But I don't really go out much as far as like eating food out, and I also don't go to conventions. Like, I think a lot of people would say I go to conventions often, but I would hardly say 2 or 3 times a year is often. Like, um, so I guess some people don't go to conventions like ever for anything. So, but anyway, yeah. So this was nice, and then also on the back, which all the great conventions I've been to always have the schedule on the back, and so here's the schedule that we're going to be following this. Um, so, but that also lists like all of the names of all of the people, and so just so the doors opened at 9, and I was still asleep, and then the auction started at 10:30. So this is just like a big feature of MAWNY where you can go, you can bid on items that are like magic items. I think this year they restricted it, like no books or DVDs or anything, but for the most part, like actual maybe magic props or rare magic items or something like that. Um, One, I don't want to put myself in a position where I want to bid on anything. Two, I don't know what I could possibly want. Three, uh, it's the first thing and I slept through it anyway. So by the time I got there, the auction had been going for a half an hour and I think it was only going on for another half an hour, 45 minutes or something. So great. No big deal. But I started seeing people in the halls and stuff, and so I started getting selfies with everybody. And so now we can hop back to here. All right. So there I am. Oh, also, if you guys are familiar with a T-shirt that I got and wore at TwitchCon in Las Vegas, I am currently wearing the "Ask Me About Magic Twitch" T-shirt, and I was able to, and it was a good thing. I'll tell you the story about when that came into play later. But good thing I wore it because I actually it brought up a couple of conversations that I probably wouldn't have had because they were like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Okay, great." So, all right. So this is a picture, a selfie of me and who we call the professor. So we call him Professor because he's known as Professor Rem in our local chapter of Society of American Magicians, chapter 47 in Rochester, New York. And he's a nice guy because ever since I met him, ever since I joined the club and started hanging out, he's basically just wanted to foster like my magic. I don't really ask him for much, but like he called me a couple times like, "Hey, do you have any magic needs?" And like he even he gave me a couple of magic like textbooks and they like he basically tripled like my magic like book collection in a matter of a couple of visits and I'm like, "Wow, all right, thanks." And so charming guy. Actually, I think one of the first meetings that I went to, he even took me out for basically a snack after after the meeting. It was just one on one, me and him, and I'd already been doing quote unquote sleight of hand magic for like months, and he was showing me like simple stuff, and I was like, I didn't have the heart to tell him like I like sleight of hand magic. I want to do the the sleights. I want to do harder stuff. So but no, but he taught me a couple of things, and I'm like, ah, that's great. So he's just wonderful, wonderful guy. All right, let's see. Next up, this is somebody also in our local chapter. His name is Angel, and well, his we call him Angel. I think that might be his last name. But oh wait, no, I have his. Yeah, no. Sorry. His first name is Angel. That's right. Sorry, it's very confusing because actually, before I get there, let me jump back to here and show you this. So I just looked over. I meant to show this too. So for anybody who's going to be in the greater Rochester area in a few weeks, around May 20th, we are going to be putting on an annual public magic show. And so here's the ad. And and Angel is right here. So Angel is his first name, but his last name is Andrew. And I was like, wait, is Andrew his first name? And it's like, no. Okay. So but yes, so I'll show that again later. But if anybody wants to stop by, I'm not performing. I'm probably more than likely going to be recording. So, all right, cool. Where are we? Okay, so there's me and Angel, and then so this was at the point where I saw a bunch of familiar faces like in the hallway. So I was like, all right, let's get selfies with everybody. So I got a selfie, solo selfie with everybody, and then we got a group selfie with a bunch of us. So this is me and John. John will also be performing. So he is up here on the ad. And then we have Tiana. So if you guys remembered, I talked on earlier streams about a college student that I shared sleight reading with and was able to teach me a trick. This is the college student. So right now, she is besides the creator, me, she is the premier expert in sleight reading. So, and then here we all are, and then this is my magician friend Joel. So oftentimes when I'm hanging out with the magicians, he's usually the one that is also at least involved. But he's been doing magic for like 25 years or something now. And okay, funny story. So he used to live next to a couple of friends of mine, and like I had these friends before I met him and before I was into magic. And when I got into magic, I was at like a friendsgiving Thanksgiving party, and I was showing everybody magic tricks, and then I go to show my friends who are his neighbor a trick, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that was good," and I'm like, "They're not impressed," and then they're like, "Oh, you should meet our neighbor," and they were referring to this guy, and he was like, they were like, "Oh yeah, he does amazing magic tricks. You need to see what he does." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Years later, I was able to. First of all, I met him, and then I was like, "Wait, you're the guy. You're the neighbor." Um, and now I'm closer with him than I am with those other friends. Mostly because we're magicians, hang out, hang around magicians all the time. But years later, I was able to tell him, because you're just so good at magic and you showed them the trick, I was never able to impress them because he had already done it. But anyway, so yeah, that's my buddy Joel. Um, all right, this is Andrew. He is going to be performing as well in the magic show. He's over here. But so if you guys remember when I did my first gig, Andrew was the one who asked if I wanted to do the gig along with the other guy that I did the gig with. But he was the comedy magician that was in the comedy show that we put on for. It was Stand Up for Autism, and so it was like a fundraising event for one of the local autistic organizations here. So but yeah, so this is, and he is currently the president of the local chapter of American Magicians, Assembly 47. So, um, all right. And then, oh, okay. So here, so I was hanging out in, and actually you can see Joel, in between behind us, like right here. So that's Joel. Here is Andrew. So I was chatting with them, and then I hear a voice from like the couch, like up against the wall, and I'm like, wait, that's Bill Malone. And for anybody who is not aware, Bill Malone is a very famous uh, card magician, and like some of the magic tricks that I know, I basically learned like effectively from him, not directly, but like I watched a lot of videos on YouTube and some of his old material. He had like instructional material on probably VHS originally, and they're probably on DVDs now. But like if anybody sees me does the main Ace assembly that I do, it's basically modeled off of his handling of the Ace assembly by Ed Marlowe. And he was he basically is a protege or a student of uh of Ed Marlowe. Adam, welcome in. How's it going? Thank you kindly for the bits. Is early for Sunday stream. Yeah, it's so yeah, it's not sleight of hand today. It is just chatting Friday, I guess. But I'm recapping. I just finished recapping a magic lecture by Alexandra Duvivier that happened last week on Tuesday. And right now I'm recapping the MAWNY convention that happened on Sunday. So yeah, I figured I was like, let me just recap on a separate day, and then I can still do sleight of hand on Sunday. Because I think if I was to talk about this on Sunday, it would basically consume like the entire stream. But anyway, welcome in, Adam. How's it going? Hopefully you're doing well. Um, but thank you so much for the bits. Thank you kindly. Um, so here I am seeing almost basically one of my card magic heroes, Bill Malone. And like one of the coolest thing I mentioned this before, but like the world of magic is pretty small. So like when I go to a big magic convention that has like 1,000 people, I can see like magicians that are like, whoa, that's I, and I can get selfies with them. I can chat with them for a few minutes. So I chatted with Bill Malone for a minute, and so one of the first things I told him was like when he had come to lecture, I heard about it, and I'm like, oh, if only I could go. But I was just starting magic, and I think my kid was recently born, so I'm like, all right, I can't go. Um, he made a joke saying, "Oh, well, if you wanted to cut, you know what? If you just wanted to cut to the chase and just pay me for the lecture." And if you guys didn't know, this is just kind of part of his sense of humor. Like when he does his presentations and magic, and he engages like with the audience, he'll ask questions that make them feel uncomfortable, and I'm like, I don't know where to proceed from here, but I'm like, so yeah, that was that. Um, But anyway, so yeah, so I got a selfie with him, and it was pretty cool. So yeah, he was like sitting right there, and I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna go over and say hi because I'm sure if I was shyer, I probably wouldn't have said anything. But then I wouldn't get a cool selfie like this. So there we go. Okay. Oh, next we met a guy named Dean. Actually, before we get to that, let me. Okay, so here's a selfie of me and Dean. So I met Dean for the first time, but Joel knew who he was and introduced, and he had a trick that we had to experience. And let me just describe the trick to you guys. Let me. Okay, so Dean first starts off by positioning your hands and showing a coin, and the coin, and he would have you position your hands like this, like one above the other, right? And what would happen is he would talk about like how solid the coin is, and like how it would be impossible for him to push a coin through your hand, right? And conceptually, I think I might know what was happening, but I swear it looks and feels so convincing that when he pushed a coin through the top of my hand and it dropped into my hand on the bottom, I was like, holy crap, that was so good. Like it felt so good. It it was, and it was so surreal. I was like, wow, and I'm like, this is like real. Even if I have an idea of how it's done, this is real magic. And so, um, so the good news was, so this trick is obviously meant for only one person. He can perform it for just the person whose hand it's going to go through, right? Um, one at a time. And so luckily I went first, and then uh, he did it for one of our other friends. If you remember the selfie with her earlier with Tiana, and I saw from the side, and I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. And but the reaction that you get, even though we're all magicians, we have a sense and idea of like how it's so good. So I was like, it was so cool. So anyway, yeah. So here he is positioning her hands, getting her ready for him to do the trick, to have the coin go through the top of her hand, go into her second hand. And I was just, oh man. Anyway, this was a moment. I think this when I got, it's unfortunate that I couldn't take a picture while I was experiencing the trick, but I'm happy I got a picture of Dean performing it for somebody. So all right. Oh, this is Karen. So she is also part of our local chapter, and she does a bunch of magic tricks for like I would say parlor to stage level magic for children. So she'll do like shows for a bunch of kids. So a lot of her things are very visual, very relatable to kids, and things like that. So, for example, something that I would never be interested in are like puppet props, and but she does that kind of stuff. So it's like, oh, she'll jump right on it. So, uh, yeah. So we got a selfie with her too. This is my magic buddy Brendan. So he is the one that I did that gig with, that Andrew set us up with. So, um, but he was starting to get. So I don't know how long he had been doing magic. He'd been doing it for a long time, but he got back into magic shortly around the time that I was getting into magic. I went super deep into card magic. He's mostly cards, getting into coins now, and so. But actually, yeah, I saw him again the other night. I think we went out with Joel on Wednesday. So went to a bar for the first time went to a bar that I'd never been to. So they hang out there all the time. But all right. Here's a selfie of me in front of a fountain in the hotel. Funny story about the hotel. So I I have on Google Maps on my phone, when I go to a new place, it asks me, "Do you want to rate this place?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like, so here's the thing: rating a hotel for just a day event, and I didn't stay there. I'm like, I don't know what I should do. And last year I was just like, I can't rate the hotel. This year I was like, okay, you know what? Tell you what, I'll rate the hotel. But in the description I said, um, yeah, went there for a 1 day event. It was great. It was fine. But note, I did not spend the night. I did not stay at the hotel. Like, and then I think it was a couple days later, the hotel basically wrote back to me on Google Maps, which, first of all, that's a super rare thing, number one. And number two, they were like, "Oh, thank you so much for your wonderful review, and I hope you enjoyed your stay." And I'm like, "Did you not read?" In my mind, I'm thinking, "Did you not read my description comment?" It's like I literally said I did not stay there. How could you assume? And then I'm like, why are they thanking me in the first place? I went and looked at a bunch of other reviews. I don't want to like badmouth them, but I'm literally just telling you my experience reading the other reviews. Um, like all of the other reviews are between 1 and 3 stars, and I'm like, oh, holy crap. Uh, I kind of feel bad, but I'm like, I mean, look, I'm gonna be truthful from what I experienced here. Like, I spent a day there. I didn't stay at the hotel, just for the event, and it was fine. Like, it worked out well. Like, to be fair, the only major interaction I had with like the hotel is so as part of this convention, when you pay for your ticket, you get a meal ticket for dinner, and it's like a buffet dinner. Um, and so that was probably the most interaction. They set out the food. So here's the thing. Last year, if I was to rate them, last year I was at one of the tables that was called last, and they basically ran out of some of the food last year. Luckily, this year, everything was fine. I was fed properly at dinner. So, um, all right, cool. So, anyway, all right. So here we are in the dealer room. So in the dealer room, there is a bunch of different tables where everybody is showing magic and doing magic and trying to sell their magical wares. It's basically a market. Like, but anyway, this is Tony, and he is also part of our local chapter. Um, and yeah, Adam says, "Restaurant by me gave you free drink if you rated them 5 stars." I mean, look, if that's not good customer service, there's also a reason, right? Like, legitimately, you could be like, 5 stars because I got free drink. I mean, that's, and you would not be lying. Like, but anyway, as skeevy as that is, I mean, there are some legitimate reasons why I think that could be fair. I know that you're quote unquote also not supposed to like pay for reviews and stuff, but in that case, I don't necessarily think that that would be a false review. Like, you were actually there; they're actually serving you. I don't know. It could be a weird gray area, but whatever. Like, I don't tell you how to live your life. If you want to rate them 5 stars and they're going to give you a drink, awesome. Like, look, I'll give you 5 stars if you legitimately just do a relatively decent job. Like, you don't piss me off. Everything went smoothly. I got my food. Nothing was wrong. Like, it's fine. I will I will rate you 5 stars. That's okay. But if something goes wrong, like, and it was just like something that shouldn't have gone wrong, like, just bare minimum. Like, uh, all right. Let's see. This is Sante, also part of our local chapter. So there was a lot of good representation. I mean, the good news about being like only an hour away from the convention venue is that you'll basically see a lot of familiar faces. There were a bunch of other people that I did not know there, but I think we'll get to a couple of pictures where I made some friends later. So um, let's see here. Okay. Oh, so first things first. Before this, so I did not take a bunch of pictures um, for the close-up show. So after the auction, there was a little bit of a break. They do build in some slack time to basically have lunch and slash or hang out with your fellow magicians. But we have close-up shows. So let me hop over to, I think this will probably be the easiest. So the close-up shows, they broke us out into 3 different rooms, and then each of the 6 magicians here would go around to the different rooms to do their set. And so this was the close-up show, and we would basically saw like 6 mini close-up shows. They were all like between 10 and 15 minutes. And so I have notes for all of them, but let's go through them. So I was in room 3, and these are all kind of catered to being like small rooms, so you can kind of, everybody is relatively close. Like, I think the room we were in only had like 5 or 6 rows of chairs going back. And so you could basically, if you just looked, so long as nobody's head was in the way, you could basically see the table, if they were doing like a close up thing. So, and all right, so the first person that was in our room was Paul Gertner, which I have gotten a selfie with before because I met him at MAGIFest, not this past MAGIFest, but 2023. And he has been on Penn and Teller 5 times, fooled them 3 times. I forget if it was 2 or 3 times, but I knew that going into the 5th one, it was 2 and 2. I just forget if the last one counted or not. Oh, they also mixed it up during the presentation too. So it's like one person said, "Oh, has fooled Penn and Teller 2 times," and it's like somebody else was like, "No, no, Penn fooled him 3 times." So it's nebulous. But anyway, um, so the first trick that he did was a deck of cards, forcing a card. So for anybody who doesn't know, there's this concept in which you can make somebody pick a specific card. That's called forcing. So he basically had a spectator pick a random card. I don't know, like 6 or 7 times. Each time it was the exact same card. It was the Ace of Diamonds in this case. Um, and then he did a torn and restored. So he went to go ahead and tear the Ace of Diamonds, and then later the spectator would pick the card back out and be like, wait, this is the Ace of Diamonds, and we thought you tore that. And then he had them look at like the torn corner, and it's like, nope, wasn't the Ace of Diamonds. So and then he did a version of 2 card Monty, which is the same as the one in my trick list. So 2 card Monty. And then he did one of his famous tricks from one of the Penn and Teller episodes called Unshuffled. So he basically has a deck of cards with like Sharpie on the edge, and as he does an unshuffle, they basically unshuffle themselves. It's very impressive. If you've not seen it, it's actually really good. And then this last one is not cards that he did, and I was like, this one's wild. So if anybody's ever heard of the cups and balls, and even Penn and Teller, they will do a version of the cups and balls, but with clear cups, which is kind of crazy, but it works. Um, Paul Gertner did a version of the 3 shell game, the cups and balls, but instead of having like soft balls, which is normally what you would use, he was using ball bearings, and these cups were like metal metal cups. And so when he would move the cup into the ball bearing, it would basically jingle like a bell. And so I'm like, how do you do sleights with that? I mean, it worked because he was able to do it, but like, it's so mind-boggling that he can control the sound for all of the movements and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's so cool. And I don't want to spoil it, but I will spoil it a little bit. So he started with like small ball bearings, and the cups are like this big. And then at the end of the original like cups and balls, if you just had regular balls, you would have like fruit up here, like lemons and stuff like that. Well, Paul Gertner, he actually had a larger ball bearing up here, and it was like, holy crap, that thing's huge. And then at the end, he would have the largest ball bearing appear out of the cup. Actually, one that was so big it did not fit in the cup anymore. And it's just like, that is wild. So anyway, that was Paul Gertner. Um, let's see here. Next up in our room was Bill Butski. Butski spelled Butski. So it's just, I wasn't sure how to pronounce it, but there we have it. He made. Oh, so first of all, Bill Butski is. He did fire safety magic shows because he was also like a firefighter, and he was pretty local. He made some jokes that was just for magicians, the differences between being stalked and being stacked with a deck of cards. Anyway, he did a 4 ace production, um, and then he did a version of Wild Card, which we mentioned earlier, was basically a bunch of one kind of card turning into another card. But he did it to music. He did it to It's Witchcraft, if you guys are familiar with that. And so that was his close-up show. I liked his sense of humor. I didn't do his sense of humor justice in my notes, but I was like, oh, he seems like just a chill, down-to-earth guy. All right. Next up in our room, we had Eric DeCamps. And Eric, I think, is a big personality at MAWNY. I think I'd seen him there before. I think I've been to like the last 3 MAWNYs, but first trick that he did was doing a solid steel ring onto a shoelace. So like he would basically just throw the ring on to the shoelace and it would just magically be threaded in there. His persona was, and I don't think he's really like this, although maybe just like his performance, but he's very antagonistic. Like he would try and engage the audience and be like, wait, no. It's like I can't even describe it. You just have to see him, I guess. And he did call out some very specific facts, like the year Houdini did like a brick wall penetration, and like he was doing a version of a trick later called I don't know what it's called, but it seemed like it's similar to a trick called coins across, which uh, if anybody has seen a trick where somebody starts off with a coin and then makes it travel from one hand to the other hand, and then he would do it with 2 coins and then 3 coins and so on. So, but yeah, I did learn one thing, and I'm not sure if this was scripted or if it was actually a mess up, but it was something where I was like, oh, all magicians can use this. So if you somehow mess up, but you're like in a recoverable state, you can just be like, oh, wait, the first try doesn't work. We got to do it a second time. And then you do it a second time, and then you can recover. It's like, okay. It's great. It's great. All right. Let's see here. How many more people we got? I think we have 2 more, right? 3 more. Okay. Yep, we're only halfway through the close-up show. See, I knew this was going to take a long time, so I'm glad I'm doing it on a separate day. Okay. Next was Steve Beam. So, Steve Beam, what I would call someone who presents with a lot of humor. Oh, real John Wolfson. I think I was in the same close-up room. I think you were, John. Welcome in, John, by the way. Guys, if you remember me saying John and the selfie that I showed earlier, this is John. That's the real John Wolfson. So welcome in, John. How's it going? Hopefully you're doing well. I know you saw the pictures, I think, on my social media, but if you want, I can pull up the pictures again really quick. Show and tell, and then let's go back to John, because John's in chat now. So, all right. So here's John. Oh, hey, thanks for the cameo. Yeah, there you go. So guys, real John Wolfson in chat is John, right there. That's John. And then we got the group picture with John right here. So there he is. But anyway, thanks for coming in. Yeah, so I went through the lecture already. I'm halfway through the close-up shows and describing all the close-up shows. I'm actually going through my notes. So, where were we? Okay, we were here, but I haven't gotten here yet. Oh, but actually, so I was talking about Steve Beam. So Steve Beam did a lecture later. So this is a picture from his lecture, but that's what Steve Beam looks like. So Steve Beam, he had I would say a very dry, logical dad sense of humor. And I appreciate it because like it was all logical but like nerdy and geeky, but like not too nerdy and geeky, but in a dad joke way. So and like a lot of what he was doing, I realized had like a math base. Oh, Real John Wilson says, I was here anonymously for a bit. Haha. Also a bit sideways and degenerative. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. I'll agree with you. Yes. Let's see here. So Steve Beam's lecture later, and I didn't realize this, but a lot of the tricks that he was doing in the close-up show, I'm like, oh, there's a math base in this. There's a math base in this. And then the name of his lecture is Semi-Automatic Card Tricks, and I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Like, and so and I'm like, oh, okay. But the wonderful thing about the close-up show here was that uh, it was basically like a comedy show. Like I probably laughed at his show out of all of the close-up acts the most, I think. Yeah. And so and like he just had simple small gags where it's like, "Hey, does anybody have a deck of cards?" And like we were in a room full of magicians, but he goes over to a plant that just happened to be like in the room. He plucks out a deck of cards and says, "Oh, look, I've got a deck of cards," like from the plant. Just like that's brilliant. uh, um, let's see. He does have so I don't remember all of the jokes, but like one of the jokes was a very morbid joke where he picked out like someone who was older in the crowd in the front row and was basically like uh his he was referred to as Skip. I don't know if that was his real name, but it's like, all right, Skip, you got to remember this card. Only you know what this card is, okay? And you know what, Skip? If you were to die right now, nobody would know. Nobody know what your card is. And then I couldn't finish my trick. So like, and so we were all like, we were just all dying. We were all not literally dying, but dying of laughter. Let me specify that. And yeah, that was uh, yeah, John says Steve Beam has a series of books by the same title as the lecture. Yeah, I think they put out a print for some time. Yeah, and Steve Beam, I did not know, so I didn't really, I wasn't familiar with Steve Beam before this, but Steve Beam wrote a ton of books and has put out a lot of magic. And I was thinking about trying to see if I could find some, but I was like, honestly, the thing that I got out of it was like, he is hilarious, and you can basically do anything. You could probably do completely automatic card tricks, and on if you just present them well or funnily, like it will still be loved. It doesn't matter. You can entertain. Like, um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. So that was Steve Beam. So funny thing, I'd written a bunch of names like ahead of time, just in the order that they appeared on the schedule in my notebook, and then I wrote Steve Beam next, and I saw like a magician, and I wasn't familiar with him either. J. Scott Barry, and I was like, no, that's not. So I crossed out Steve Beam. E-Room, welcome in. How's it going? Um, Guys, you're not following our friend E-Room. Please give E-Room a follow. E-Room, known as the Pope of Indiana, and does a variety of different streams, in real life streams, community game streams, opening random things in his house streams for like Kinder eggs to collect. But anyway, welcome in E-Room. Hopefully you're doing well. We're just doing a just chatting stream today, but I'm recapping. I finished recapping a magic lecture that we had last week, and then I'm currently recapping a magic convention that I went to this on Sunday. So that's where we're at. But anyway, thanks for the bang, E-Room. Guys, we know that the stream has started because E-Room has come with a bang. Boom. All right. Nice. See you on and check my calendar. Lol. Oh yeah. E-Room? Look, I fooled you. It's not Sunday. There you go. Bang bang into the room. Okay. Now, when you say bang bang into the room, that makes it sound maybe a little bit less okay. uh, all right. So the next magician for the close-up shows was J. Scott Barry. So I saw J. Scott Barry walking into the venue from outside because I'm like, oh, he's definitely a magician because he like looked like a magician, like a stereotypical magician. I hadn't seen him before. I didn't know who he was. but I found out who he was, on Sunday. Um, he had kind of like almost like a surreal kind of like style to his show. Like the first thing he opened up with was a line, it's like physical versus metaphysical. That's literally in my notes. Um, and then he talked about Albert Einstein as a mystery, and I'm like, oh, interesting. And the entire show was set to music. But he does basically a series of like things with a magic wand. He uses a metal ring, puts it on a wand. He pulls out an invisible coin purse. He produces coins. He produces ribbons. Um, and then there was a line that I said later. Honestly, like the magic here was not very. It was just like one-liners, and I just described. But like the stuff that I put down was like just the artistic stuff. So like I have a line in here that says he said artists paint on a canvas of the imagination, and like uh, I don't know if. Oh, sorry. I think artist paints on a canvas. I probably missed some words in there, but magicians paint on in the imagination, something like that. But that was like the thing that stuck out to me. Oh, and then he put a ring onto a ribbon, which we also had seen Eric DeCamps do earlier. But it was very stylistic, and so yeah, that was J. Scott Barry. It's a song. Oh, it is a song. Okay. Thanks, John. I did not know. Uh, was you on last Sunday? I didn't see you. No, E-Room. I was not on last week on Sunday because I was at this convention. So I actually got home like 11:15 my time, and so it was like almost halfway through the stream time, and then I still had to like clean up and shower, and I was like, I'm not gonna stream on Sunday. So I did cancel on the Twitch schedule, but I don't really have anything anywhere else where I just don't. But anyway, I was like, okay, so I'm recapping stuff tonight. So then on Sunday, this Sunday, I will have my regular sleight of hand Sunday stream. That's the plan. Okay, cool. Look for you anyway. Oh, thanks, Eroom. Greatly appreciate it. Um, I, Eroom, I did lurk in your stream a couple of times in the past 2 weeks, but not much. And I wasn't actually there. It's usually during work hours. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna leave myself on because I'm just gonna count as a viewer for Eroom. So, all right, awesome. Let's see. Next up, we have Reed Ferry, and Reed Ferry is a mentalist. He started with a prediction, and then he did a calculator thing where he had everybody choose a bunch of random numbers. He had everybody put it into their calculator on their phone. Then he had the calculator on his phone, and everybody went to press a button on the calculator to create another random number. Then he had everybody put that in their phone, and this randomly created number uh, basically connected to something at the end. I don't necessarily know if I want to reveal it per se, but then he had somebody choose a random suit, had somebody choose a random card. I was involved. I had to choose either if the card was either a face card or a number card. So, um, but yeah, when he revealed this thing at the end, it was like, oh, what? No, no way. So, if anybody's seen any big magic shows where they have like a lot of people involved to choose like numbers and to link it at the end, like, uh, if anybody remembers me talking about Justin Willman's show at MagiFest earlier this year, similar to the big number reveal there. So, and then Reed tried to do a triumph at the end because originally he was just going to fit in just whatever his mentalist thing was, but he loves card magic, and so he wanted to just finish off with the card magic. And he was the last one in our room, so he could go over and it was fine. Um, so uh, I don't necessarily want to say anything about any of the close-up magicians messing up, but the thing is, when you are in a safe space with a lot of magicians, um, if you see so many acts in one day, like I think throughout the entire day, I saw probably at least, I don't know, 5 or 6 times where I believe the magician would have messed up, but everybody covered it up pretty well. Everybody gave me like new ideas for how to recover. And so like just so that you guys know, and you guys have seen me mess up on stream. Magicians do mess up their tricks sometimes. It's just a matter of like how well you keep the entertainment or the flow going afterwards, right? And so that's yeah, that was good. All right. Okay. Whew, I just talked for a bunch, so I'm going to take a swig of tea. So, once again, if anybody's been sitting around for a while and you've not hydrated, please feel free to hydrate. I also still haven't figured out a solution for my top camera here. So, when I move my table, that jiggles. I want it to not jiggle. Real John Wolfson says, how mistakes are handled is the true measure of a pro. You know, that's probably correct. Because when I was first starting Magic and when I would mess up, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. And so, not at all. And I would not call myself a pro now, but I'm just way better at dealing with it. So I feel more comfortable. So it's like, when I mess up, it's like, oh, that's okay. We can either do something else, or I can recover, or ah, this is good. So, all right. Now we're finally getting back to the picture that has been showing here for a bit. So this was the Steve Beam lecture. As I mentioned earlier, it was called Semi-Automatic Card Tricks. So I was a couple minutes late because I was hanging out with some people and getting selfies and stuff. But I'm like, oh, what do I? Where is it? Would this be worth it for me? Do I want to stay and hang? So I decided I'm gonna go anyway. Like it's the only lecture of the day. It's like if I want to leave, it's fine, you know. But I ended up staying for the whole thing, and once again, his lecture was also very funny. But he talked about um, using math principles, the willingness to cheat, and then there's some card magic concepts that I won't talk about here. Um, let's see here. But he does focus a lot on his presentation and his comedy patter, how to misdirect. There's one thing, there was one joke, and I do want to share this, even though it might. So, when you're doing card magic for people and you have to do a trick first, he basically said as a magician, you are borderline negligent if you do not bring a deck that is already set up for your first trick. And I'm just like, yeah, you know what? He's right. So anyway, I did note a book that I think I might want to see if I could get my hands on because he says it has a lot of sleight of hand, and I'm like, that's what I'm in for. So I'm gonna look for trapdoor. Um, let's see here. He does mention there's a trick that he gave a lecture on during this lecture that he talked about, where he basically describes here's the thing with counting this thing, and the brain doesn't catch it. And he basically repeated it twice, and everybody's like, wait, what? And like, he just says, yeah, right? Like, this is how it works. Brains just don't catch it. Like, it's just, and I'm like, he's right. Like, um, cool. And then I have a bunch of technical stuff, like, that I won't mention. There's like specific names of sleights and things. Oh, there was this one trick that he did that I think I'm gonna probably try and do or recreate similarly. But it's similar to the trick that I do that's in my trick list called hallucination. It's similar to that. It's not quite the same, but it's right up my alley because it's basically just a card trick. It's small packet, and it uses some of the sleights from. So if anybody's seen me do the trick reset, which is also in my trick list, it's basically like it's like if hallucination and reset had a baby. I feel like that's what it would look like. It's literally in my notes as it's like this trick, but it's also similar to this other one. All right, let's see. And okay. Oh, okay. So there was this other great trick that he did later, and the trick itself, probably not too hard, but honestly, it's about the gag joke that he does in it. So I think I have to describe it before we get. Let's see. Real John Wolfson says, I've heard good things about Trapdoor. Awesome. Well, that's the correct note that I put down. He actually listed a bunch of other books, and I'm like, I don't think these other books would be for me. And then we said that, and he's like, oh yeah, it's mostly slides. I'm like, that book would probably be for me. So, all right, let's see. Okay, he, so there's this trick that he does where um, he's pretending somebody's coming in, and somebody's reading his fortune, and somebody picks a card, and basically he says, "Oh, you have 13 to live." And then he goes through this whole like procedure for the cards and stuff, and then like honestly, all this part doesn't matter. And then basically at the end, the person who came in for the fortune telling says, "Well, 13 what to live?" And it's like 12, 11, 10, 9. And that's the joke. He did preface ahead of time that whoever the volunteer was to come up, should be okay with more morbid jokes. But I just it was hilarious. Yeah, I that was probably my favorite joke, probably of the entire lecture. Let's see here, and then he was using some cards that guys. I have to say, I have to call this out. He used a plastic card. I mean, he did confess like during the like this card is made of plastic, and I'm like, yo, I've used plastic cards on stream. I didn't yell that out loud, but in my mind, I was like, I've used plastic cards before. I know. So let's see here, and I have a bunch of notes about that 13 to live trick. So and then I have a bunch of other notes for this final trick. So this final trick was where he got like I don't know, like 8, 10 people from the audience to come up onto stage. They all cut into a deck of cards. They remember the card that they cut to, and then they all got sent back to their seats. And then the last person, he would basically antagonize it and be like, wait, you looked at the card, but wait, you didn't cut the deck or anything, right? And it's so this trick he described as his favorite trick that he invented, and it's like an emotional roller coaster. Um, and so basically, as he goes through the trick, and then he taught us at the end, and it's like, oh my god, this is so brilliant! Like the presentation of it. I don't think I could do it on stream because, first of all, I'd have to figure out how he does it, which he did explain. I think I got it, but I'm not entirely sure I could repeat it without some practice. But I need like 10 people, so um, yeah. All right. So anyway, that was the lecture. All right. Okay, after that we have dinner. So there's a buffet dinner. Before that, I think I had like 20 minutes to just run around. And so here's another person from our local magic group. His name's Nick, actually. Nick is here, so he is going to also be performing at the show in a few weeks. And then this is one of the dealers. So this is Christian, and I see him basically at this convention and at Magifest. But he is the one that is behind Card Shark and creates Phoenix cards. So Phoenix, one of like the other uh, common, like I would say, consistent premium decks of cards. And if you've seen me use them, I do have some. I think I left them all upstairs right now because I was. So I've been doing inventory on all of my decks of cards, and I have a spreadsheet now of like most of my premium decks of cards, and they're all upstairs. But yeah, the Phoenix backs looks very similar to bicycles, and I've noticed that. So Americans we use bicycles mostly, and then when I see European magicians, they're mostly using Phoenix. So but they're very nice. Actually, the one thing I really love about the Phoenix cards are the Jokers, because the two Jokers are basically Phoenix birds, and they're facing. You can have them face each other or face away. So that's the nice stylistic thing about the design of the Jokers. But anyway, yeah. So that is But so I stopped by his table. I bought a couple of things that I wanted to get, and then there was some sad news, and I didn't know about this, but his partner in crime that would basically always be at the dealer's room tables with him at the conventions, and I've met him before, but his name is Roger, or was Roger, but Roger passed away months ago. So yeah, I didn't realize, I didn't know, but yeah, so that was heavy news. But Christian still came out, and he's hanging out. So there we go. Okay, so going to dinner. So here's the buffet. So while we were waiting in line, I met these guys. I don't remember what their names was. I literally just chatted with them um, in line, and I showed them my ambitious. Now I had no, so ambitious card trick. I had no, I guess, delusion that they probably knew how it was done, but we had a nice discussion afterwards about like my method and what the usual method is, and so that was nice. And so this is like the cool thing. It's like I can talk about magic stuff with these random people because they are also magicians, and it's like I don't feel bad about revealing anything because I know that they probably know. So that's cool. Oh, I forgot to mention. So they actually asked about my shirt because we were waiting in line long enough, and I was able to tell them a little bit about Magic Twitch, what I do on stream. I told them about my YouTube channel, and I forgot. I didn't get a picture of them, but earlier in the dealer's room, I had seen. I was walking by, and somebody asked me about. He asked me about Magic Twitch, and he was like, because I didn't realize it's early enough, but I think it was logistically difficult because I was wearing my sweater. I also had a backpack, and I had my badge, and so everything was like covering the shirt anyway. And if anybody knows what's on the back of this shirt, it's actually a QR code that links to Magic Twitch. So let me, if anybody doesn't know, Magic Twitch. It basically takes you to this link tree that has the four like Twitch magicians. So it has me, Chan the Magic Man, Infozar, and um, Hellowthorn. So, but anyway, so I was walking around in the dealer's room. This guy tries to read my shirt. I move my badge. He can read it, and he asks me about it, and I tell him, "Oh yeah, so here's my thing. Here's my spiel, basically. Let me take off my jacket, my sweater. There's a QR code." And I find out that one of the guys is he drove 3 hours to be at this convention after being near my neck of the woods, which is also another 2 hour drive for him. So like he had done like probably 10 to 12 hours of driving in a weekend, like just to go to two specific events. And then the other guy that I ran into, uh, he was local, not just local to like greater Rochester, literally local to the town, the suburb that I live in. And I'm like, how come we haven't seen you around the Society of American Magicians? Um, and he was like he apparently knew about IBM, which is the International Brotherhood of Magicians. And I didn't know much about, like, I knew that there might have been a chapter for Rochester of the IBM, but I found out later that it might be just a bunch of people meeting at somebody's house on a very not regular, not predictable schedule. And I'm like, that makes it tough to meet up with people, especially if you don't know these people's houses and stuff. So at least with the Society of American Magicians, Chapter 47, we meet at the same place on a very regular cadence. Um, so anyway, that's my story. So I was able to connect him with the president, Andrew, and exchange some contact information. So we might be seeing that guy in the future. So we'll see. All right, cool. So after this, I sat down at a table. Oh, hold on, I gotta. So I didn't sit with them. I sat with some other people. But here, if anybody saw my Instagram pictures, this was dinner. So, Alstro Art, welcome in. How's it going? What's up, crazy? How you doing, Alstro? Rare Friday stream. Yeah, it is basically almost never. But welcome in. How's it going? Hopefully you're doing well. Good to see you. Today we're recapping a convention. So I went to a magic convention on Sunday. I had already finished recapping a lecture, a magic lecture that we had last week. So Real John Wolfson says, "I'm very curious how you rate the meal." Oh, okay. Yeah. So let me get to this. All right. So the meal here. It consists of, actually, can I zoom in? Yeah. Okay, so this soup is, I didn't know what it was looking at it. I think it's supposed to be like a minestrone kind of based soup. Um, so the soup broth is good. It doesn't feel like a minestrone. It seems too flavorful for that. I almost feel like it should be more bland. But anyway, it is very salty though. So it definitely had like some okay taste, but then it was just like it's kind of almost overwhelming. Alstro Art says, I've retired from Magic and now I'm back in office worker grind. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if that's a congratulations or my sympathies. It almost sounds like it should be a my sympathies, but it. Alstro Art says it looks like an espresso with seaweed. Yo, you're not wrong. That's exactly what it looks like. And so the one that they gave me, so there's it spilled over the top, and that's why there's this here, because I was like, oh, okay, it's very kind of full, and then when he handed it to, like, before he handed it to me, he just bumps it a little bit by accident, the guy who's handing out these soups, and it's like, well, at least I don't have to hold it, and it's like my hand get all sticky and everything, but anyway, so that was the soup. And then, okay, so here there's a bunch of different things. I think I try and grab basically a little bit of everything. So first things first, let's talk about this crostini. So this crostini, I have no idea what this mix is. It looks like a meat mix, but I don't think there was meat in it. So this had a little bit of acidity in it. The crostinis are basically just dried bread, just as good as any dried bread could be. So that was fine. This is basically bruschetta. Oh, this was olives. All right, thanks for letting me know, John. Yeah, I did not know. Anyway, it was fine. It tasted okay. But actually, so when you say it's olives, that acidity makes sense now. Okay, so this is a bruschetta. I think I have two of them, but this was actually like baked on. So like I could turn one of these upside down and everything would still be stuck to it. Um, that was pretty good. Nothing wrong with that. And then we had green beans. I grabbed some because they were supposed to be healthy. They tasted just as bland as any green beans would taste. Unfortunately, like I could make green beans taste a little bit better. Literally, you just have to put a little bit of butter or oil and salt and pepper. None of that was here. So those were kind of meh. Um, this is I forget, is this ziti or is ziti straight cut? Or what's the diagonal? Rigatoni? I don't know. It's whatever this pasta is. The pasta is pasta. It tastes like pasta. The sauce tastes really tomatoey. I almost feel like there's like nothing. Like, look, if you look at this sauce, there's not much in it except for the redness of the tomato. So it's very tomatoey. It doesn't taste like much else besides tomato. Um, it's literally, yes, it's tomato sauce. That's what it is. They didn't do much else to it. Okay, this roll, probably one of the best things. It tasted like a good roll. I don't even know if this was a roll or it was like a garlic knot. If it was a garlic knot, not the best garlic knot, but it was better than just bread. So there we go. Um, and then Iru says, "Num num num num." You're doing a good job of summarizing how I felt about it. Sad I skipped the roll. Oh, yeah, yeah. So this was probably one of my best. And then so this was chicken in a like a gravy mixed with stuff. I mean, this was probably slightly more okay. I don't want to say it was it wasn't bad, but it was not like I wouldn't call this meal like amazing, like this whole thing. So the chicken, I mean, the chicken was cooked, it was moist. The gravy provided enough flavoring. There was actually so many things in it, like there was some tomato, mushroom, some other maybe small vegetables that were maybe hiding in there. But for the most part, like you're mostly tasting like chicken and the gravy, whatever it is probably gravy. Um, so John says that's basically how he felt about the meal. Yeah. So I think if I was to have this repeat meal, I think I would basically just have the chicken, the bruschetta, the roll, and then I would eat the green beans just because I feel like I need to have some veggie. But yeah, that's probably it. I wish I had wanted seconds. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, instead of having seconds, so I did finish everything, even though it wasn't the best. But I'm like, I paid for this. I had dessert. So normally I don't have dessert. Normally I just go back for seconds. But as we just discussed, as John and I discussed, uh, anyway, all the desserts that I had. So I had all three of these. They were all good. I don't think they made any of these. I feel like they were probably all just all bought from like maybe a bakery or a grocery store and then just put out. Sorry if you guys made them, but look, remember, I discussed about my review of the hotel earlier, and then I read other reviews. All of the reviews are literally 1 to 3 stars. Okay, so that's yeah, or Costco, right? Astro Arts, yeah. The desserts were pretty though. Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna lie. Like these were good. These were good. They were just as ultra processed as any of these anywhere would be. So anyway, that was the meal. I did get a chance to hang out with a few people. So I got a selfie with Ken, and so Ken was sitting next to me at the table, and we just chatted. While when we went up, so I had made a faux pas statement at the table because there was an entire family of Canadians at the table, and they were talking about traveling and how we were talking about like a lot of Canadians were avoiding coming into the United States. Um, Yerum says, "Is it really a dessert if chocolate isn't involved in some way?" Lol. Hey, I think desserts don't need to have chocolate, but if it does include chocolate, it is probably a dessert. Although I think you can have something that is not a dessert that contains chocolate in it. So, for example, my friends and I, they used to have some interesting themed parties, and one of the parties they hosted was a bacon and chocolate party. And so uh, they had a bunch of different like dishes where it was like bacon, and you could dip it in like a chocolate fondue. They had like I think it was like bacon brownies or something. They had a bunch of other things. I don't know if they made everything or they had friends like do different recipes, but like the salt and the sweet of the bacon and the chocolate, surprisingly really good. So, Elstro Art says, "Did you do your part and subjugate them?" All right. So, oh yeah. So here's the thing. So I commiserated with the Canadians. So about everything, and Ken was understanding of that. But the other magician that was sitting at our table was a magician named Greg from Las Vegas, and he made a statement about um, the current president. And later, Ken told me while we were like in line waiting for food, yeah, so you know that statement he said? Yeah, he's on the president's side. And I'm like, oh, okay. So and then I apologized a little bit, and he was like, "Oh no, no, yeah, no, no, it's okay. I totally understand." So, but at that point, I was just like, "Yep, I should just shut up and not talk about." See, this is why politics is a very dangerous discussion topic, just randomly. So get back to talking about magic. It's okay. So anyway, and then here were the Canadians that were sitting at our table. So I think I only got his name, and he was the magician. He's Calvin, and this is his daughter. So apparently they have been coming to this magic convention for like over 30 years, and next to her were her two kids, and so basically they're carrying on this family tradition of since he was bringing her to magic conventions since she was a kid. They are bringing her kids to magic conventions, and then also his wife was like on the other side of the kids. So real John Wolfson. Don't apologize for offending someone who's on the side of fascism. Fast shit, man. I can't even talk. Um, no, I was apologizing to Kenneth for potentially making things a little bit, and then he said, "Oh no, don't worry. That's and he understood." So, no, I wasn't apologizing to uh, Las Vegas magician. So, yeah, no, because so here's the thing. Kenneth was sitting between me and Las Vegas magician, and there were some additional words said basically through him, and so I apologize to Ken for you know potentially broaching a topic. I did not get a selfie with Las Vegas magician, if that's if that's what you're wondering. Anyway, so this was a cool, heartwarming story about how long their family has been coming to this magic convention, and so I was like, oh, that's so awesome. So great meeting, great meeting them. And actually, Calvin did a magic trick for me. Oh, I left my wallet upstairs. He gave me a card. Actually, he did a trick for me, and then he had ripped it up, and then he fixed it for me. But anyway, I'll have to show that another time. But his trick was a Sean Farquhar trick that was lectured also at MAWNY, I think years ago. And so I should have known how it was done, but I forgot, and then he had to reiterate, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So, um, and then on my way out, I was like, oh, I see some more local people. So this is Jeff, and Jeff is also a local magician for our local chapter. And actually, Jeff is has familial ties back to Houdini. I know he said like his relationship a handful of times. I don't remember exactly what it is, but like there's only like two surviving like direct relations I think to that are really close to Houdini, and it's like he and one other person are now the closest. I forget if it's like second cousins or something. I don't remember. But anyway, that's Jeff. This is Reed Ferry. So actually, if you remember earlier, I said that he was the mentalist during the close-up shows. So I knew who Reed Ferry was because I subscribed to him on YouTube. So and I'm like, oh, I've watched some of his content on YouTube, and so I uh, I basically finished up dinner, and then I'm like, okay, we've got about 20 minutes. What do I do in 20 minutes? We'll start walking around. I'm like, oh, wait, there's Reed. I should probably go say hi and introduce myself. So I went over there. I said hi and introduced myself, got a selfie, and then kind of told him that, I subscribed to him on YouTube, watched some of his stuff. And then he was like, oh, cool, and then we got into what I did my shirt. So it finally the shirt comes back into play again, and he was like, oh yeah, let me ask you about your shirt. And then I talked about my YouTube channel, I talked about Twitch and what I do, and he was actually interested in how I manage the stream, um, for performing magic. And I mean, you guys know I use the trick list. It's mostly like a music stream but with no music in the streamer song list. It's just tricks. But yeah, we had a nice conversation, and I said I followed him on Instagram because I wasn't. Oh no, I didn't do it that night. I did it later, I think. But and then I put everything up. So yay! All right, awesome. Networking with other YouTuber magicians. So that was fun. Let me actually, if anybody's interested, let me pull up. Let me see here. Fairy Reed. Yeah, if anybody's interested in checking out Reed Fairy, his YouTube channel is this one. There we go. That's Reed Fairy on YouTube. All right. Excellent. All right, cool. So after dinner, making way to the evening show. So they called this the International Evening Show because there was one international act. Well, actually, yeah, one international act. Everybody else, I think, is in the United States. But let's see here. Oh, so on the way, I saw. Oh yeah, so I told Alexandra that I was like, oh, I'll see you on Sunday, from Tuesday, And basically all day I hadn't seen her. I hadn't we hadn't chatted or whatever. But here's Ben Barnes. So I didn't get a selfie with him at the lecture, but here he is. So caught them in the hallway, just barely, and then uh, almost running into the room, and I'm like, "Oh, look, it's Paul Gertner!" And then I was like, "Can I get a selfie with you?" And so here, I had to have him come out into the light because it was too dark in the room. Um, and I didn't realize that he was going first in the show at night, and I was like, "Oh, I was probably pulling him away." But anyway, it was okay. I had some time. Um, okay, so at this point, the show starts. There's 6 acts, and I don't have any pictures until the end. So we're gonna talk about all the acts, and then so I couldn't take as many good notes for these because the lights were off and I couldn't see when I was writing. So I just tried to fill in as much as I could and just take whatever notes I can. But the first person performing was Paul Gertner, and he has this video playing on the wall of his past and like how he got into magic and how his dad would film him as a kid, and then he did a version of a trick called the Miser's Dream, where if anybody has seen somebody just producing coins from their hands and putting them into a cup or a glass or in this case a metal can, um, and then he did a torn bill, and then he did a signed card to impossible location. So there was a lemon that was on the table, and this torn bill, you kept a corner of it as a receipt. And he grabbed the bill from a random spectator in the audience, and then you did a bunch of stuff, and then at the end, the dollar bill is inside of the lemon that's been sitting in plain sight the entire time. What was the name of his first trick? Oh, Miser's Dream. Let me. I don't know if that's the one that he does, but it's a version of Miser's Dream. So it basically looks and feels like Miser's Dream. Um, and if it's not exactly that version, that's the one it's based off of. So, um, cool. All right. Yeah. Awesome. No problem, Pillbilly. Yeah. And then yeah. So card to impossible location, or sorry, dollar bill to impossible location. um, I forget if it was dollar bill or if it was a signed card. Actually, in my notes, it says signed card, so maybe or was it a signed dollar bill? I don't remember. We know that brains, they don't remember stuff verbatim. We actually reconstruct it in our brains every time we remember something. So, uh, all right, and then let's see. Oh, and then he did a big trick at the end where he had a deck of cards that had names on the back, but there was a card selected ahead of time by a woman in the audience. The woman was actually Karen. So you remember that selfie that I said about the woman who did magic shows for kids? Karen is also going to be performing at the magic show. There she is, Karen, here. And so she was the random audience member that that got to choose a card, and the card that was selected. And so this deck of cards that he had on stage had males' names on the back, except for the card that she chose. It had a woman's name, not just any woman's name, but her name. So that was a crazy reveal at the end. I think I understand how the trick can be done. I don't understand how her name was on a card. I guess that's the thing. I have no idea. I think there was a bill in the lemon. Okay, yeah. So thanks, John. Yeah, yeah. So I think okay. I think the torn bill was in the lemon, and then yeah, they compared the receipt corner to the lemon. Oh, but there was also a card. Yeah, there was a card. Okay, yeah, and then there was a card selection. So that was Paul Gertner's performance. Very entertaining. It was good. So Next up, we have Mike Joseph, which I was not too familiar with, but actually, after the show, John and I talked a little bit because um, Mike Joseph actually had some tricks with live animals, and so there were some doves that were produced. So there were, I forget, 3 or 4 doves that appeared out of what we would call nowhere, and then there was a painting of a dove on the stage, and at some point towards the end of the act, oh yeah, so the 4 doves that he made appear, he put them onto, well, like basically a little perch. It wasn't quite a cage because it wasn't enclosed, but like it just had a place for them to perch. And then he made the entire cage disappear, and and then and we were like, oh, okay, all right. And then the painting that had the dove on it, he would later produce a dove out of that painting, and then the image of the painting disappeared, and he was holding a real dove. And I was like, okay, whoa. The whole thing was set to music, um, and he also did a trick where he put a sword through a student's neck, and there's a joke: "Do not drink for about an hour." Oh, okay. Oh, wait. Hold on. I have a picture for this. I forgot. I think I did. I started taking some pictures like throughout, even though I don't think I was supposed to take pictures. But shh, don't tell anybody. I didn't take any pictures of anything that would like revealed anything, and I didn't take video, which I'm definitely pretty sure would be frowned on. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, I forgot. At the beginning, before the show started, they called up a bunch of people to thank them, and also there is still this. Um, I don't want to say. Let me see. So Magic is still mostly male dominated, but uh, the presenter here, which his name is Robert Bengal, he brought up a bunch of the women that basically made the convention possible, and that helped out or was visiting. Alexandra is the woman on the left, and so thanking them, making sure that everybody knows that you know we uh, we have to thank them. We they were, man. I don't even know have any words for this. He said it fine. I I was not prepared. So okay, okay. This is the picture I want to show. So that's Mike Joseph, and he was putting a sword through this student's neck. So there we go. Okay, let's see. Next up, the third act. This is the part that probably makes it international. Is Shun Suzuki. So for anybody who has heard of manipulator or manipulation acts, these are usually acts where you see the performer produce lots of things, change things into colors, and they're doing it like either in very quick succession or to music. And this was Shun Suzuki's act. As soon as it started, it reminded me of. Um, oh yeah, John. I see your statement. I'm gonna address that in a second by the end of this. So let me describe the act. So Shun Suzuki, his act when I first started watching it, it reminded me a lot of. There was this one that came out like years ago that I forgot if it was the one that I'm referring to was either Japanese or Korean, but it was like somebody manipulating CDs that would change colors, and they would be playing with the music and pretending that the music that was playing in the headphones, and so they would play with that. And Shun Suzuki did a very similar thing. As he was going through different parts of his act, he would do something like this to make the music stop, or like he would kind of start like with some creepy music and just like start doing single like piano notes when he would throw a ball to hit the ground or something. And so throughout his act, this manipulation act, it was crazy. It started with like a candle wand. He actually lit uh, did he light some of the candles on fire? I don't remember. But the other thing is, there's this kind of magic that we basically never see anymore, but it's thimble magic, and he did it. Um, and he used some cards that had a piano on it for when the piano was on. So there were like three phases to his routine, and the first one was like piano and violin. So it basically felt like nice, calming, relaxing. It almost felt like anime music. Like if you're familiar with like Ghibli relaxing piano violin music, it basically felt like that. But he would basically use some props to line up with the sound effects that we would hear, and then he would use, so when he had the balls, he would use them, and they would basically bring the drums in, and he had he produced gold like tarot cards. You know how like regular cards are smaller, and I talk about tarot cards all the time. He produced tarot cards that were all gold. Then he made them into a gigantic circle, like one handed, like did a cardistry thing, and then he basically used them as symbols to line up with the music. And I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. Like, yeah, okay, yeah. John's confirming that the candles were lit. Yes, that's right. So yeah, he was doing candle magic with lit candles, like quite literally lit, not just like that. Was it was awesome. I mean, it was also awesome. So, but anyway, the entire presentation and the entire act, very visual, very smooth, very well choreographed. I was talking about it with, so I sat next to Angel, and Angel and I were talking. It's like he had to have choreographed this, made the music. There was no track that was naturally like this, so he had to edit the music to basically match this, and then choreograph with it. Um, and so yeah, it was amazing. So this was probably my favorite act, I think, out of the entire six magicians at the end in the final show. And so now let's get back to what John first said. Or no, no, sorry, I missed this one. But John said the sword through the neck prop was made by his mentor and Buffalo legend Carl Norman. I'm not familiar with Carl Norman. Let me note that. I don't have to put a notebook. I can just put it into my Carl Norman. Thanks for that name, John. Okay, so yeah, Shun Suzuki should have been the finale. There, I said it. Says John. I'm gonna agree with you, John. I think Shun's act was amazing, very visual, very entertaining, very impressive. And also, Shun Suzuki is a young kid from Japan, so I was very impressed. I did actually get a. Hold on, let me see. I got a selfie with him later. Let me just see how far I have to scroll. Oh yeah, so here's Shun. Here's him at the end of his act. So I didn't want to take a picture during. I mean, I wanted to take a picture during, but I know I shouldn't, so I didn't. But hold on, let me. Oh yeah, so here I am. This is Shun Suzuki. So I was like, I had to go up to him after the show and tell him how much I liked it. I told him like, man, great work, combining the music with the act. I loved everything you did. That kind of like, can I get a selfie with you? So it was. There we go. Alstro Art says crazy should be the finale. I am not ready. I don't even think I have anything visual for a final show. I only do card magic, so I would argue that I would probably be better off as a comedian if I'm doing something to entertain this many people. But anyway, yeah, so that was Shun Suzuki. There was an intermission, and during the intermission, I was like, oh, I saw Dan. So Dan is also part of our local chapter of American Society of American Magicians, but he is also the one that runs the auction. Like he's the auctioneer at the auction. So, um, but yeah, that's Dan. And then, all right, so that was Shun Suzuki. All right, and then after the break, we had. This was Michael. Oh, no, sorry. Okay, yeah. That's a picture of Michael there, but there was another performer, and I forgot to take a picture. Um, the amazing Chris Capehart. So, Chris Capehart, um, he. I had actually seen Chris Capehart perform before. I think he was at a previous MAWNY. But so the thing that he's known for is Chinese linking rings. But actually, his so I think Chris Capehart was an amazing um, was an so he had a lot of jokes. I thought they were hilarious, and he would kind of, I would say, throw the audience for a loop. Um, so first thing he did was a multiplying card box. He would basically be like, "Oh yeah, how many decks do I have?" And he would just have one in his hand. And then as soon as he brought his hand up, there was a second one in his hand. And so he would just put that box away, and then he's like, "Okay, here, I just need one deck for this." And then he would pick it up, and there'd be two decks in his hand. That part's cool. Then he did so he took out a shiv and he basically pushed it through a deck of cards. But then he reveals that to an audience member, "Oh, you couldn't have done that because there's a brick block inside of this deck of cards." And he took it out and it was a solid brick. And it's like, "How did you push that through?" Right. Real John Wilson says he's tireless. Yes, right. Um, and then he did a shrinking card box. So he tried to put a deck of cards back into the box, but the cards were now bigger than a smaller box. And he would make jokes like, "Oh, he's an old Jedi, Chris Capehart," and he could harness the power of the Force. And I was thinking, "Oh, this is funny. It's almost May," and he would set up a card and use his Force powers. And at first, he was close enough where obviously he was just pushing the air near it, but then he did it like from much further away. He was like, I don't know, at least like 12 feet, 14 feet away, and then he would just do it. And he would set it up a few more times. But he would keep on making this joke throughout his entire act. He started at like, "Oh yeah, I'm 65, been doing this trick for a long time," and then later he would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm 68. I've been doing magic for a long time." And then by the end, it's because he called back to this joke so many times. Like he was 72, then 75, then it's 77, and like by the end of the trick, he was like, "I'm like 90 years old," and it's like I've been doing this for a long time, and it's just we were the crowd was eating it up. We were all laughing so hard. And then it was a similar joke because he did a light bulb thing where he was using his force powers to turn on a light bulb. And he's like, "Oh, you could buy this light bulb." And it's like, "So that's a regular light bulb. Just after the show, come and see me. It's $25 light bulb." And then afterwards, he's like, "Oh, no, no, it's okay. Yeah, you can buy this light bulb after the show. It's a $28 light bulb." And I just could not. It was amazing. And then he did the Chinese linking rings as the end, and it was like he would do close up. Normally, the Chinese linking rings is done as like a either a parlor or like a stage, and he was doing it. And I know he did it like on the street when he was a street magician, but yeah. Yeah, John says Capehart got his chops working the streets. Yeah, absolutely. So I have not encountered too many street magicians, but all of the ones that I have encountered are all like they've got like this gritty presentation, right? Like they're like, "Yo, I'm gonna get your attention and I'm gonna eat it fast because I'm on the street. You could leave at any time." So, all right. Okay. Okay, two more acts, and then I'll wrap up probably. We'll see what to do after that. Okay, so the next act was Michael Lair, and that is the person the person on the right in the picture here. So that's Michael Lair. Um, and he also had some music. So he had I don't know what I would describe as epic throwback music. Like there was some it felt like the 80s, and then it changed to calm synthwave music, and then later it became like like the third phase it was like video. If anybody's played the game FTL, it's basically like video game synth music that's similar to FTL music. And I'm like, where the hell is this music going? But he also had a series of manipulations. They all also had like interesting gags to them. But he did a candle color change. He did candle production and vanishes, some of which were also lit. He produced an umbrella. he had a candy bowl that had candy in it, and then all the candy changed to ribbon, and then the candy was overflowing, and I was like, I think I know what's going on, but like he's just I'm like I don't know, and then he used a static ball, and I'm like, is that magic? And it's like that's totally science, right? And he was just having this little ball that looked like it was just a light static ball run up and down his arms, and I'm just like, that's just static electricity, right? Like, um, I don't think it was fooling anybody, but I mean, it looked cool. It looked funny. And then he did like a big ribbon production, and then he did a torn and restored map, and then there was this ribbon production that like seemed like it went forever, like from his bowl, and then there was a big fan at the end, which you guys can kind of see the fan like right here. It just appeared. So yeah, like if I had to say any performance was all over the place, this would be the one out of all the six acts at the end. But I was entertained, so that was good. It wasn't static, but it looked like it. Oh, so John knows some insider information that it was not static. All right, awesome. I have some other ideas. I won't reveal those now because now that you've dispelled static for me. Uh, awesome, thanks. Winky face. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Okay, and that was Michael Lair. All right, and then okay, so the last act was J. Scott Barry, which if you remember earlier, I mentioned he did a close-up show, and he was the one that I saw earlier in the day that was, I said was dressed like what most people would consider like a stereotypical magician. Um, so I don't want to like badmouth anybody, but I didn't really enjoy the finale performance. And this was like the room was the darkest. At least everybody else had like a little bit of light, or sometimes they'd be like, "Hey, could you turn on the house lights?" And so this final act, um, Jake did some wand magic. He produced wands, colored sponge balls, ribbon productions. There's a lot of these things that we've seen earlier in the day. Um, he did some magic with a ring, like a solid ring, and a silk and some coins. Um, and then, and I heard some music that it was kind of reflective. So like there was like some it was a techno version of clocks. You know, Coldplay clocks first, and then he ended with like "It's My Life," and I'm like, these are songs that are very popular in American culture, but it almost felt like the music was, no offense, too epic for what he was doing. Um, and I don't like. Okay, so John and I agree that Shun Suzuki would have been an amazing closer, and that would have been amazing. So and just seeing like the final, and I'm like comparing it to all the other acts, and I'm just like, I really enjoyed all this other one way better. So Real John Wilson says, and the lip syncing along was kind of tacky. Oh, I didn't even note the lip syncing, but yeah. So anyway, that was the final act. So anyway, my favorite act, I think, in the final show, undeniably, and I think John agrees, Shun Suzuki. So, all right. Okay, so here's uh, the lineup at the end. Oh yeah, so here's Chris Capehart here on the left, Shun Suzuki, and this is Mike. I forget. See Mike Joseph. Yeah, Mike Joseph. Here's J. Scott Barry. Here's Paul Gertner, and then here is uh, Mike Lair. There we go. So, all right, excellent. And I wasn't sure. And then here's my selfie with Shun. I did show that earlier. We fast forwarded. Now we come back. And then here's the stuff I was hanging out with, and I hadn't gotten one with Nick and his wife, so I was like, all right, I gotta get a selfie with you guys. And then here is my badge, which I showed you the real one, and the summary of events. There we go. So, after the convention, I it was like 9 something, 9:15, 9:20. I hung around for a little bit, talked a little bit with some people, did one round and said, "All right, it's late. I should probably go because, it was going to be an hour drive home." So drove home. On the way, I was like thinking, "Oh, should I stream? I feel awake." And then I was like, "Nah, it's late. I'm not going to stream." So got home. Actually, so when I left, I actually stopped at Mighty Taco. So if anybody doesn't know, there's this like local. Um, think of it as like a Taco Bell. I think that Mighty Taco is a little bit better than Taco Bell, but it's basically on par with the level of like fast food, Taco Bell. But Mighty Taco, and there used to be one near where I live, but they all closed near where I live, and so I'm like, oh, the only time I'm ever gonna get Mighty Taco is when I come to visit Buffalo, New York. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stop by. So I stopped in a Mighty Taco, got myself a taco bag, and then I had a couple of tacos in the car, and then drove home. So I was like, I was happy after eating tacos on the way home. So and yeah, made it home. Like, not gonna stream. Took a shower, cleaned everything up. I had to separate a bunch of stuff. I did like take all of my swag out. Oh, so actually, I forgot to mention, and we were gonna talk about it. So I did buy a bunch of things from our friend Paul Richards. So this was the magician that I was mentioning earlier. That every single time I see Paul Richards like in a dealer room, like there's some dealers that will just hang out and just want to chat. Literally every single time I see Paul Richards, he is basically performing a trick or talking to somebody about a trick or telling somebody a variation of a trick. Like when I came over and I said, "Oh yeah, no, I have this trick," and Paul Richards was like, "Oh yeah, hey, I just discovered this thing from somebody a couple days ago, another variation of how to end it clean," and I'm like, "Whoa!" Like, and he's just telling me, and I'd bought this thing from him like 2 years ago. Real John Wolfson says Paul is great. Yeah, so yeah, Paul. This let me just say, Paul Richards, this man is always working and always sharing his knowledge, always showing tricks. And he does have a bunch of tricks like to sell, but I'm just like, even if you don't buy anything, like I I typically don't feel like after the first year of going to a magic convention, I probably felt pressured to buy something back in like 2022 but now it's like, there's no pressure. It's just like the man is there to entertain, and if you want to buy, like he wants to make you want to buy something, but there's no pressure. And I'm just like, wow, that's man. So yeah, and I did get a couple other things. So one thing I did get that was not a Paul Richards thing was I had earlier gotten a deck of one of these cards, a deck of these, and I was like, I could use these for stuff, but I don't know what it's normally intended for. I saw that there was a DVD there of it, so I got the DVD, and it came with another deck of these that are brand new, because the other one I got was not as brand new, and so you may see me use these decks later or some of these cards. So that was the other thing I got. Um, yeah, and so that was the swag. All right, cool. So went through all my notes, went through all that, showed you guys all the pictures. And then one final thing again, I did briefly show this earlier and was calling back to it throughout the stream. But if anybody's going to be local to Rochester, New York, around Tuesday, May 20th, we are going to be hosting an annual public magic show, which you guys are welcome to come to. I'm going to post it up on screen now. So if anybody would like to come, here's the lineup. If you want to meet real John Wolfson, he's gonna be there performing. Actually, you're actually gonna MC too, right, John? Yeah, so you're MC because that's right. And then there we go. So um, if anybody missed it, I'll probably post an image of this somewhere. If you're friends with me on Facebook, I would have already shown this, but I'll probably put it on my put it up somewhere. I might even clip it. So, all right, cool. All right, and that's everything I have. Anybody have any questions? Anybody want to talk about anything? Anybody want to bring anything up? Oh yeah, here's the other deck of cards. Whoa, sorry. Am I still streaming? Okay, good. Yeah, here's the other deck of cards that came with that. I do have a couple of other tricks over here, but I don't want to pull them out because I don't know how to use them properly yet. So that's the worst thing I can do is Facebook event and website page pending for public show. Okay, awesome. Yeah, when that goes up, the website, I can share that out. All right, cool. Awesome. Alrighty. Let's see. With that, yeah, it's almost 1. Let's end the stream. So I'm going to go ahead and find somebody to raid out to, which is, this is going to be an interesting time because I don't normally raid out on a Friday. So let's see who is streaming. And let's raid out. Oh, actually, before we go, also, let's give some mod love to our friend and mod, Gibson Lens. Guys, you're not following our friend Gibson Lens. Bert is a pianist, also a composer, and has released his first album a couple months ago, which it's been a surprise hit. I thought I didn't have any doubts that it would be popular, but I think what we've been seeing is the numbers have been increasing on like monthly streams on Spotify, right? Right, Bert? Is that what you've been seeing? Are they holding steady now? Still increasing? I'm not sure. I think last time we got a numbers update was like a few weeks ago. But um, let's see here. Okay, let's see who's on and who we might want to raid. Let's see here. Oh yeah, let me also pull up the spreadsheet. Streaming spreadsheet. Oh, let me also tell you guys something that I've been quote unquote secretly doing. I've been slowly starting to put thumbnails on my YouTube videos. So, well, by starting, I mean literally last night, I just updated 10 of my YouTube videos to have a thumbnail, and I'm like, okay, let me see where this goes if it can be better. So I've been doing that. I've also been recording like short, no frills, no patter reference magic videos because I plan on using them later, but also I'm going to share those out a little bit. So, yeah, let me see here. Let's see. Oh, last time we rated out to that person was that time. Oh, yeah, thanks for getting my YouTube. Well, they're finally going down now, but it's stabilized. Oh, that's awesome that they're generally stable. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, guys, if you want to, if I'm not around and you want to see more of me, just check out my YouTube channel. I have over 300 magic tricks performances on my YouTube channel, and if I have new stuff, I'm going to be putting them there. And if you want to see the new thumbnails, they're there too. All right, awesome. Let's see, we have a few possible targets. Let me also see if there's anybody that's streaming that we've never raided before that I want to raid. Okay, so hold on. Have we ever raided this person? No. We haven't ever raided P1TM, right? Hold on, let me see how long they've been going.
A lot.
Okay, it's been going for 3.5 hours. Let's see. Haven't raided. Oh, don't mind the ad for. Oh, Davy's been going on for 5 hours. Okay. Alright guys, let's go over and raid because I've never raided P1TM, so we will occasionally see P1TM over in Gibson Lens's stream. So, oh yeah, he's a buddy of mine. He'll be on for a while. Oh, awesome. Alright, cool. Erum knows P1TM too. So, all right, guys. So P1TM is a musician, and we've rated. I've rated over there with Gibson Lens before. So let's go hang out with P1TM. So if you want to follow along in the raid, here's a raid call. Here's a sub raid call. Real John Wilson says this was fun. Have a great weekend. Thanks, John. Thanks for hopping in. Um, and hopefully I'll see you around. Actually, hopefully I'll see you on Monday. And then also, guys, if anybody wants to meet Real John Wolfson, he will be at the public show that we are doing in Rochester, Greater Rochester. So I think I'll make it Monday. All right, awesome, cool. So yeah, we are saying farewell to a magician who recently joined us, but is graduating college and is moving away. So, all right, awesome. Okay, so those are the raid calls. So here we are going to be raiding P1TM. Now, if you get left behind, there's that. Let me start the raid officially. There we go. All right, excellent. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hopping on this random stream day. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed sharing my magical experience with a lecture and a convention. And also, regardless, even if there was nobody here, I would have liked to do this anyway because I wanted to put it on the YouTube channel. But I am so happy that you guys decided to come out and wanted to keep me company. So also, I missed you guys from last week. So thanks for hopping in, everybody. And remember, everybody, to take care of yourselves. Remember to hydrate. Remember to stretch. And remember to get good sleep because we don't get good sleep now enough anymore. So, oh crap, I have to copy my own raid call. Let me copy a raid call and then I can hit the button and then we can head out. So, all right. Everybody take care. Next stream is going to be Sunday for Sleight of Hand Sunday because I missed last week. So I want to make sure I do it this week. All right. Take care and we will see you guys later. Bye.